Jim, what's your take on the $2 billion trading loss that JPMorgan announced last night? This was a shock to the system.
It's sobering. Charitable Trust owns it. Have had tremendous respect for JPMorgan. Started recommending the stock at 19 during the Dina Dublon CFO days. Feel very had. But more importantly, it also tells me that when someone as smart as Jamie Dimon, and he's smart, can't catch these kinds of things before they get out of control, then they can't be caught. And that makes me far more reluctant. I haven't liked the international banks, but I did own JPMorgan. I think JPMorgan's going to have a record quarter. I think it's going to do fine. I think that, but it bothers me tremendously that the company didn't seem to understand how bad the CDO market was. The company, like everybody else, the company put together a lot of risky products, didn't understand how bad they were for customers, and now this. And what it says is, look, maybe it is too complex for even the best. I mean, that's how I come back. I say he is the best. Maybe it was too complex. I know that the CDOs were too complex for them. I think they didn't understand them. And that's perfectly reasonable, because if they can't understand, it's like my mom used to say, Jim, you're a smart guy. If you don't understand it, maybe you can't understand it. And it was always good, because obviously your mother's your biggest defender. But I come back and say, listen, I am Jamie's defender. And I'm thinking, if he can't understand it, then it can't be understood. And that may be the takeaway. And that I really understand, and so does the CEO of US Bancorp understand what US Bancorp does. When you have 10 people in a division and they are basically doing an impenetrable trade that you can't see the risk piling up, that isn't that Jamie Dimon wasn't doing his job. It's that he can't do that job. It's too hard, that particular oversight, which means that you have to bring that group in and explain to them, listen, we have to let you go. You betrayed the shareholders. That's the rule. You're on Wall Street. You've got to be fired. I'd like to see them fired because as a shareholder, they should be fired. Yeah. And then I want to understand why they should be in a business that's too hard for them to understand after having been too hard, and them not understanding what could go wrong with CDOs and peddling stuff that I think was not suitable. Those are things that happen when you don't understand or you're trying to make too much money. And both of them are not right.
So do you focus on a domestic or regional bank?
Yeah, I mean, I think you go buy, simple? I mean, I'm very sensitive to the idea that you say you go buy something and then it doesn't go up. And so what I would say is that the Charitable Trust is inclined to like US Bancorp and SunTrust on weakness.
Okay, and so with JPMorgan, now you do own that.
It's dead money.
It's dead money.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be a record quarter.
Yeah.
I think you might not have even noticed it if it weren't for the fact that Jamie Dimon was so angry at himself. He's coming home to meet the press. And he's met the analysts. He did screw up here. He did screw up. He screwed up because he thought that it wasn't so big, which makes me worried that maybe he doesn't understand it. And one of the things he's prided himself is being very commonsensical, and his common sense let him down. He let everybody down. I let people down because I trusted Bob Steele at Wachovia, and that was a mistake. As much as I like Bob and work with him at Goldman Sachs, I trusted Jamie to not screw up. He turns out to be human, but his business shouldn't be this hard that he could screw up, and that's what I worry about. Shouldn't have been this hard. So
stay away from the complexity.
The international banks, look, I should have just owned SunTrust, which bought a good basis in US Bancorp. There was no reason to own JPMorgan. I had too much faith in Jamie Dimon's ability to be able to perceive risk. But when derivatives are so complicated that you can't see it, which is what happened with the CDO market, then I got to rethink. I got to rethink how to position the trust, because it isn't necessarily as much lack of trust, although I wish, but the recognition that he didn't realize how bad it was. And so therefore, it's too hard.
Okay. So dead money.
Yeah, dead money. This market is
stock pickers market.
Stocks have rallied this year.
We're coming into a Monday where we're going to